Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Madcapper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. I want to tell you how much I miss you guys. This is my third attempt at making this video. Both times I've gone over 20 minutes just talking about the setup. So we're going to try to slim this down to 10 minutes. Let's go. This is take 3. This is going to be the one. This is going to be the beauty. Let's get it to 10 minutes. Let's go. This is an unkillable comp with using just Roshcard. It's going to improve your damage because you are removing the Sir Nick from my Unkillable 2.0 to add another damage dealer, and that's what's going to give you the extra damage. I've capped out at about 46.5 million. I have seen above 50 million using this comp, and we'll talk about it right now. So the 5 champions you're going to use, the 5 champions I'm going to use, a few PSAs. First off, this is for void affinity only. There's some champions that do not work in this. I will put out a separate video that will have the affinities of force, magic, and spirit. I would have loved to put it as part of this video, but I'm having problems with the clan boss turning to spirit, so I can record that one. So in the meantime, I'll show you what this comp can do, and I'll tell you about sort of some of the options you have and how to make this work. Secondly, this is not my comp. Obviously, this is from Reddit. Clanmate Zazu said, "Why aren't you doing this?" And I said, well, let's do it because there's no new content, and there's going to be no new content in 1.15, so I have to have new ways to amuse myself, and this was it. So here's the build. First, Roshcard the Tower. I'm going to show you his masteries. Anyone who's not a debuffer, I use the same masteries. There's a couple that I have some variations. Who cares? Don't worry about that. Just know that you're just trying to maximize damage and minimize damage on this side. Although for this particular comp, it's a little less important. But you do get this thing, which is the counterattack if a teammate gets stunned. Right? Other than that, just generally useful for all areas. He doesn't need his debuff. If you are using him in other areas, maybe you want this removing 1 random buff and therefore you need accuracy. That's up to you. This cannot be resisted, so it doesn't matter for accuracy. It's not an accuracy check, and therefore I was able to use an attack banner. The other thing to note is that because this is based on attack, even though his A2 is based on HP, I am maximizing his damage based on attack because this is going to hit every counter attack as well as twice in his 4-round turn order. As you can see here, I am not done, but you got 3k attack, you got 251 speed. That is the critical point. Again, if you want the specifics, you can check the link in the description below to Reddit that lays out this comp. Again, crit rate of 100%, pushing up this crit damage just to have him do as much extra damage as possible. The second person is the one who takes the stun. This is Valkyrie I'm using, and this is why I can't use it on affinities, because Valkyrie gets a turn meter boost when the clan boss puts the attack up on itself, and therefore she gets out of whack turn order. If you're using a normal counter attack, you just give her 17 less speed, and the boost will put it back up to normal. Thanks, Birdie, for that little tidbit. However, in this comp it won't, because it messes with the turn order of Roshcard, because he's trying to hopscotch her, and in that first half round she's too slow. You can test it using the second link in the description button below, which is a Ultra Nightmare and Nightmare Clan Boss Simulator. You can plug in your champions, what their gear they're wearing, find out their speeds, and then it'll calculate turn order so you can see whether it'll work for you or not. That calculator does not take into account her speed jump, but you'll have to just play around and maybe you can get it to work. Let me know if you do, and I will try it. Big thing with her is I have her at 7,200 defense, and that is so that she puts up the biggest shield possible. She's the one that's going to be my team lead and take the stun. I'm putting her at team lead so that the clan boss prioritizes her for stun, and what happens is you use the 2 turns to counterattack as normal, so you maximize the damage, and then on the 3rd turn she will still have her shield, and that shield, because it's the 3-turn shield and you take no damage for the first 2 turns, that's what's going to allow her to take the stun all 50 rounds. Little peek at her masters. Third, you need a cleanser or a debuffer, or sorry, a block debuffs. So I don't even have him fully worked out, but he still works because of this. He can block debuffs. If you're using a block debuffer, they have to be the slowest on the team, which is why my Valkyrie's at 174. That gives me 173, 172 to work with. He's at 172, so that he goes after her. And I have him in lifesteal because I was trying some different things out, but that's essentially how this works. And if you're going to put masteries on him, go the attack tree and defense tree, because he's not playing debuffs that you want. Okay. Next is Doom Priest is the one I use because she has an attack up. She's not fully optimized because I'm using her in Faction Wars, but essentially this is extra damage, so you do want to actually push up her attack and crit rate for that to work. But the main thing is that she's running at 183. She is the fastest, so-called fastest on my team. In other words, she goes first each round, even though Roshcard's faster because he's lapping the boss. He's always somewhere different than first, so that allows her to get rid of the slow, so if you were using Spirit Affinity, and gets rid of the stun. And then my damage dealers, I use Dracomorph. Dracomorph Vizier would be the ultimate, but I don't have Vizier, so I use Dracomorph Frozen Banshee. Dracomorph, he's at 176. I have his damage pretty darn high. He hits for about 250 when the debuff is maxed with his A1, so that's pretty nice. 4,500 attack, 248 debuff, and of course, like I said, debuffers go down a different tree. This is how I run my debuffers. I run them all the same. I do recommend staying away from Laura's Steel because it can offer you fractions as speed, and those may or may not come into play, and they may or may not cause you issues. I just avoid the scenario altogether. Plus, this is good, generally useful in every dungeon. So if you're using your champion in dungeons as well, this is going to help you. Also in arena, because the first time he hits a champion, he'll knock their turn meter down. Oh, sorry, did I not? Yeah, I showed him. Okay, never mind. The last one we have here is Frozen Banshee. I did mention she has the lore that I don't want, but I'm not going to rebook her because it works. If I was having issues, I'd rebook it and see if that was the case. Her big thing is her poison sensitivity debuff for 2 turns, which is going to just allow my Draco to do even more damage with his poisons as well as her own, because this needs to have poison sensitivity to land. She's an attack-based champion, so the secondary stats, once I get her speed, right? You noticed, I think the area is 172 to 178, but you'd have to play with that. I know there are some people that have had some issues with certain speeds, so I run them 176, 175, and then 174 for my counterattack, and that seems to work really well for me. And then I've just pushed her damage up by giving her some attack, giving her crit rate, and giving her crit damage. And of course her around 240 debuff accuracy. So that's the team. Let's hit the run now. I'm going to show you 2 runs. The first run I'm going to show you is Ultra Nightmare Void Affinity, and we're going to show you the 40. I think I do 44.5 million. I'll set the turn order. The biggest thing is that you use Roshcard's A3 at the very beginning, and then you hold off Valkyrie's A2 until after the stun round so that you can get the full counter attack, and then it works just fine. If you're using Skull Crusher instead of Valkyrie, then you're going to want to put Skull Crusher around earlier, so his Unkillable is up when he gets stunned. That's the big difference, and you only get 1 round of counterattack. A lot of people who have Martyr Skull Crusher will run Martyr instead of Frozen Banshee, so that they get a full counterattack, a double counter. It's essentially a double counter scenario. The only other thing I can think of is if you have a Vizier instead of Frozen Banshee, obviously you're going to want to set it up till you run the buff. You know, he does buff extension, so you're going to want to try to set your buff bar, right? The clan boss can only have 10, so you're going to want to put those poisons, those debuffs on there, and then you want him to get them around 5 or 6, I think is usually what most people do. You can also use Bulwark in this comp. It does okay. He did about 40 million on this with everyone else the same, which is why I used Frozen Banshee, but he was doing yeoman's work. I think they fixed it. He used to not extend debuffs when Unkillable was on, when he wasn't taking damage. Now it seems as if he does, so maybe I'll do a video on that later where I'll do some different alternate versions. And obviously if you don't have a Doom Priest, you can use a Grizzled Jarl, you can use Mausoleum Mage, you can use Reliquary Tender. Anyone who has a 3-turn cooldown on a block debuffs, or I think Sepulchre, but it's a weird speed system if you're going to use her because she has to go an extra turn as well. And I think it's like 242, 240 for your 2 champions. I don't know the comp personally, so you'll have to look it up if you're using that. Okay? So, I'm going to kick it over. Thank you for joining the channel. Thank you for subscribing, because I know you hit subscribe. Because not hitting subscribe would be a real dick move. It would be a real dick move if you weren't subscribed at this point. What's it going to hurt you? Just subscribe. Turn on notifications if you want to hear from me. If you don't, just hit subscribe. Throw our brothers some love. Be kind to one another. I'll show you the 2 comps. Oh, I nearly forgot. Okay, if you were going to do Nightmare and you want to do a 1-key Unkillable with the same team, it's all about Roshcard. There are 2 things you need to know. First of all, his speed, which is currently at 251, I bring down to 240. So I slow him down to 240. I think it's 240 to 242. You'll have to use the calculator to figure out what works best, but I use him at 240 and it works perfectly fine. So I swap this out. He gets for one of my weapons that brings him down by 11, and then it works just fine. The other thing you do is, rather than using his A3 on turn 1, you use his A3 on turn 2. Everything else is the same. You still use your Valkyrie after the stun, or Skull Crusher right before the stun, if you're using him instead, and it works just fine. I will have a second video run on this one. So the first run you're going to see is the Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss with this team, and then the second run is going to be Nightmare Clan Boss. These are both on Void. They will not work on Affinity, so do not use this comp on Affinity. You can use similar comps, but you have to use different champions because of where the stun may or may not land. I will have a video out as soon as I get all 3 affinities recorded, and I'll help you with that as well. Okay, thank you once again. Please subscribe, please like, thumbs up, share with your friends, work hard, play safe. I'm gonna run a video, and thank you for joining the channel.
Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
Nightmares creep while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire. Set my heart afire. With crimson secrets and forbidden bliss, can't stay still, don't stop that thrill. My bones crave your skin, temptation within, mistakes ignite the silence. Nightmares creep while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire. Set my heart afire.